What's up, guys and gals? Welcome back to the Nerd Castle. Today in the world of indie games, we're going to be taking a look at a tiny title that's made by one guy at a ludicrous price point called Raubritter. If you don't know what Raubritter is, Raubritter is a robber baron. Pretty common during kind of the late medieval period when empires were sort of like slipping and falling. There was no imperial authority, or there was no greater kind of king like enforcing rules on lords. They tended to run roughshod over the peasantry, and that came up with the term robber baron, which was effectively barons that were charging, like landowners in feudal society that were charging way more than they should because they knew that there was no oversight, and so they just oppressed the hell out of the peasants. And that's what Raubritter is, and in this game, the play on words that they're toying around with is that this game is a little bit of a hybrid. Judging from the description that I've seen of this game, they want it to be kind of like an RTS, RPG, city building, go fight the neighbors kind of hybrid, I guess. The game came out in early access about a year ago. I played it for about 35 minutes, decided it wasn't quite ready for the screen yet. However, we're about a year on now in the development of this game, which is being done by one guy. And the most recent review is from like 8 or 9 months ago, at least when I looked at it last time. There's not really a whole lot on this game. I wasn't going to cover it this time through again because I still think it's a little bit too early for my channel, but it's also kind of dead right now. And on top of that, like, I need to stop wasting productivity. Like, if I spend like 2 or 3 hours playing a game, I gotta crunch out a video with my thoughts on it, even if it's negative. Lately, I've been kind of like, I don't know, like, so for most of my career, I kind of filter through things, right? And I completely omit stuff that is not kind of at like my operating level of where I think a game is good enough. And what this means is a lot of times I play games for like 4 or 5 hours, I decide they're not quite ready yet, and that's just like dead productivity time when I could have put out a video that had kind of like a negative synopsis that helps people and lets them know like, hey, this game is not worth the money. This game right now, actually, its main problem is that it's $40. You heard me right. This is a single-man project using mostly assets from what I can tell, even down to sort of like the animation level, and it's being priced at $40, which actually like vexes me quite a lot. I don't think this game is actually bad. I think it's just really early on in its development, and if we take a look at the roadmap, the game says it has about 1.5 to 2 years of development left to go. I say that's probably optimistic. I'd say it's probably around the realm of 3. That being said, I decided to go ahead and cut a video anyways because despite the things that are raising my eyebrow and making me feel a little bit nervous about this title and a recommendation thereof, the developer does seem to be tremendously in tune with his audience. So that means he'll like respond within very short amounts of time whenever anybody posts anything on the Steam forums, fixing bugs and things of that nature. So there do seem to be like bright sides here as well. But if after watching this you wanted to get the game for yourself, you could take a look down below in the description. I will have a link to the early access there. Normally I wait till the end of the video to do this, but right here at the beginning of the video, I'm just gonna tell you flatly, this game is not worth $40, alright? I want you to think about all the amazing things you can buy on Steam right now in the AA, AAA, and III categories, even in just bare bones one-man project indie categories, that will charge you like maybe $20. And so like $40 is not the price to pay for this title as of right now. However, they are trying to combine a lot of different genres together in order to make this game. So far I've had no bugs and I've had no major issues. The game is super asset-y. And there's like random little things, like for example, I assigned this guy to work inside this building right here, and he is actually working, but he's just staring at the wall while he works. Like, it's still producing its production outputs, but he's just like staring at the wall. And so you will run across jank quite frequently. However, nothing that has been like game breaking and stopped me from playing the title. So the link is down there if you wanted to check it out and wishlist it. The game does go on sale pretty frequently for like 20, 30, 40% off. I'd say if you could snag the game for like $15, I'd be willing to drop $15 on this game to see if the developer can pull it off. Any more than that, I'd kind of shrug and be like, I'll wait it out and see what happens. So what am I doing right now in the confines of this universe? Well, as far as I could tell, like, I don't know. Listen, I don't know if there's going to be a lot more map added to the game. But as of right now, this is the map of our territory that we were given at the beginning of the game when we were in Fioft. We are a local lord who is in poverty. We are not like one of the rich nobles that has like a dope castle and like a mott and like an army and like levies that we can raise. We're kind of like the bottom tier of local feudal lord. And so as of right now, we're a village elder. But this is the map that we live on right now. There's hunting, there's resources. You got to kind of look around to find them because they're not going to be marked on your map when you initially start out. But they are there, and you're going to have to wander around a little bit. So far, I've wandered. There hasn't been a whole lot to explore or really to be particularly interested in. There's been a couple of bandits that have tried to rob me. I've beat them to death with this knobbly wobbly stick right here. And then I kind of go back to doing my local lord stuff. But the bare basics of the game are, I built all these buildings over here. All these buildings have a function. All these buildings have a production output. The best way to think about this game is kind of like low-budget Medieval Dynasty. That's the way that I would describe it. This is like Medieval Dynasty if Medieval Dynasty had like an 18-cent budget and one guy working on it. And honestly, most of the features kind of work, but you're not going to have any of the fun stuff like animations or anything else to go along with while you're like doing carpentry and things of that nature. Over here, I've got a lumberjack, and then I've got a sawmill, which I work out to produce like planks and things of that nature. I've got an herbalism hut right here. I think the buildings could use a lot of diversification from what I've seen so far. They're all kind of just like these pine bark buildings that look like Abraham Lincoln whittled them. And they're very, very difficult to tell apart. They need a lot more outdoor decorations and things like that to sort of like imply what they are. So like with the herbalism lodge right here, there should be potters and planters and things all around the building with colorful, vibrant flowers, and there should be herbs kind of hanging from gables up here and like awnings that are like drying out. The lumber mill's fine. This looks like a sawmill. For the lumberjack's hut, you know, you would want to see things like axes leaning against the outside of the building and like random logs laying around in front. This is a hunter's lodge over here. I'd prefer to see like deer antlers on the walls and like rabbits hanging over here to like bleed out. Maybe some deer on a rack over here doing the same thing with blood buckets underneath them. And then, you know, a couple like stretching posts and things like that. Those things don't exist. You're just going to have to remember what these buildings are as you place them down, because as of right now, they're kind of like nondescript backwoods cubes. But this is my warehouse. This is where all my stuff goes. I have guys producing things right now. They're spitting them out, so I've got like boards being produced. I've got logs being produced so that I can build more buildings later on. This right here is the money building. This is the Craftsman's Guild. It allows you to make more buildings. This is not all the buildings that are inside of the game. In fact, there are quite a few of them. You interact with those through the banner. So basically the storyline is you were a dope noble. You were like one of the cool nobles. Your little brother betrayed you, stabbed you in the back, and left you for dead out in the middle of the wilderness so that he could steal the title to your father's kingdom or your father's fief. He succeeded at that. However, a friend spirited you away and nursed you back to health in the wilderness and gave you access to his lands because your father and his father were like allied or something like that. And now that you have access to his lands, he says that you can have them if you pay off like his 15,000 dinar debt. And so every time you pay off a big chunk of the debt, you unlock more buildings. As of right now, I haven't made that much money, all right? I have like 200 bucks. I've been playing for like an hour and a half, and like I've beaten about 50 bucks out of random bandits, and then I've kind of just like sold off other stuff while I was up and in the neighborhood. We do have an extra club over here that I can sell, though. As of right now, I think I've got my lumber mill producing something. He should be making firewood, I think. So really the main point of the game, since we haven't gotten to that yet, is you're trying to build up your village. Every hour, your peasants have to eat, so you need to produce enough food to take care of that. I haven't really hired more peasants yet, but like I'm strongly thinking about it. I think it's probably a good idea to pick up more peasants, so I'll probably get going with that before too long. Still, let me unburden myself real fast. Inside your village, when you start out, there's a guy over here. I'm guessing this guy's not going to be permanent, but there's a guy over here that acts as kind of like a dude that guides you through the tutorial, and then he also acts as a vendor once you're good to go, so you can like sell things off to him. So like I could sell that club right there and make $40. Easy peasy. I could take like this cooked meat right here and I could probably sell it for like what, $5 a piece. So there you go. We now have another revenue stream, and now I've got 110 bucks to play around with. I'm not really making any refined goods as of right now, but this guy will allow you to buy other stuff off of him. So if you end up needing like tools, or you end up needing weapons, or you end up needing things that are greater than the basics, you can pick them up from this guy. Since I do have enough money right now, I have a few workstations that are not being utilized by, like, anybody. And the worst case scenario here is that they produce stuff that I don't even need that I can just offload on this dude to make more money. And so, like, I want to hire some peasants. Let's go ahead. I guess I'll hire one peasant for 150 bucks. Did we get that new peasant? We did. Radic the peasant. Good. I've got I think I've got a clay mining operation over here by the lake. And so we'll go ahead and swing on over here, and we'll assign him to go ahead and work by the lake. And he'll start producing clay so that we can get towards, like, bloomeries and creating iron and stuff like that that'll sell for a little bit higher of a price. I don't see any bandits over here. I don't know if they, like, respawn or anything. Sometimes there's bandits around. Just, like, keep an eye out for them. They're not really particularly a threat. The combat hasn't been overhauled yet. So the general vibe I get from this game is that everything is a placeholder. That's pretty much the vibe that I get from this game. The reason why you want to keep that in mind is that everything is getting overhauled. Oh, he's digging right here. Oh my god, that scared me, dude. I thought that was a scabbard. I thought that was someone drawing a knife or something on me, dude. I got scared. But anyways, he's going to start digging over here. He's been assigned. He will take the stuff back to base and drop it off at the warehouse. We'll actually kind of like scout the lake a little bit and see if there's anything around here. Exploration... Oh, there's a bandit in the brushes. Hold on. Run. All right, what did he have? Did he have an axe? What was that? Oh, he's got a club. All right, I'll go ahead and parry him. He's going to parry me back. Hit me. There we go. We're going to exchange blows a little bit. The combat in this game is very asset-y. I recognize pretty much all these animations right here from, like, asset shops, I think. I feel like I've seen that bandit attack animation in about 1 million games doing my job. But the good news is, in December... the developers have on the roadmap that they are dropping, or he is dropping, the combat update where he says it's like an animation overhaul, an AI overhaul. It changes how the AI attacks you, how it functions, what they choose to do in combats. I'm guessing that's when they're going to start having positional combat in the game, because I was going through some of the hotkeys, and it appears to me that we have like an attack, right? And then we also have like a thrust, and then we also have an overhead right there. I'm guessing that there's going to be different types of blocks or something in the overhaul. So some of this stuff is probably going to stay, but for right now, we kind of are where we are. The combat is serviceable, asset-y, kind of clunky, not that great. But since we're in November right now, and the next update that updates the combat is next month, when their last big update, I think, which was all the village management stuff, just got added, I think, in like May or June. It seems like they're releasing a major overhaul for one of the game systems about every 5 months or so. 5 to 6 months or so. And honestly, that's probably a good thing, because just about everything in the game, in my opinion, sort of like needs to be overhauled. This game is very early on. Like, I wouldn't call this early access. I would say that this game is really, really early alpha, like proof of concept phase. So keep that in mind. Is this guy like dope? What's his... Oh, it's a pagan? Okay, so apparently we have, like, some guys out here that are a little bit more trouble, so let's go ahead and knock him out. Oh, we got him. Nice, he's down. His buddy ran off, so that's good. How do I loot this dude right here? Give me your good... Oh, he had an axe. Nice, dude. Free axes? That's what's up. Axes are really expensive in this game, and when their durability runs out, it's kind of a bummer. Luckily, the pagans aren't that scary. Hopefully I can, like... Ow. Okay. Ow, he hit for half my health. Okay, never mind. Run away. We don't want to get hit by this guy, like, at all. Drink that potion. Drink that potion. There we go. All right, I drank the potion. I think I can get him caught up in, like, an animation loop. I was going to say, if I can just keep backing up and, like, diving in right there, I think we can get him, and down he goes. Like I said, everything in this game is kind of like utilitarian and in the spot where it needs to be, but not necessarily in its final form. Combat's a little clunky, but like I said, overhauling it next month. We got a Morgenstern right there, which is way better than what I have. So there you go. We've got like a much nicer mace at the moment. I'll probably, now that you've seen what combat looks like, I'll probably, that's combat. It is what it is. I'll probably head back to the village now. Now that we're back at town, I'll probably take my time to actually sell that axe. That axe is probably like the money thing that we pulled out. I don't know. Oh, I've got an iron hatchet. Is that like a weapon? Oh, it's a weaponized axe. Okay, so it's not for chopping down trees. I thought it was for chopping down trees, and I already have one of those. I guess it's a different one, though. Let's go ahead and drop this off with the vendor. We'll see how much money we make. I know the Morgenstern is worth quite a bit because I can't afford to buy one from the vendor. So the fact that we just got one for free is like radical as all hell. We got paid 180 bucks right there. Not bad. Couple $100 just for cruising around. Looks like we need to get another 2,000 and we'll be good to go, but frankly, it shouldn't be that difficult because we should have guys producing things. Are you still producing? I need to know if you're still producing stuff. You are. Okay, good. I thought I set him up for like an hour and a half's worth of production, so he should be solid on this end. I have 26 food inside of there. How much is it going to cost? 546 food to feed everybody for the next hour. All right. I'll probably get that meat cooking right there. I don't really need to be in there at the moment. Not that big of a deal. I don't know if they drank the water. It looks like they didn't drink the water, so I don't think they need water. I think they just need a solid diet of just like nonstop meat, and that's all that they want. How's my clay looking inside of here? We got 120 clay. Good, because I want to make a bloomery. So there we go. Bloomery's all banged out. Bloomeries, this is the place where they are going to do, I gotta do shift like so. There we go. I gotta raise the tile height, and we do need to start getting buildings out and in here though. So the bloomery is actually quite large. We may want to have this like sort of alongside the road like so, maybe. There we go. There's our bloomery. Kind of faced a little bit weird, but this is where we're going to be able to use bog iron in order to produce iron, hopefully. If we take a look right here, it does look like we can make iron ingots. We're going to have to assign a craftsman to this place. Your craftsmen do level up, by the way, as they do tasks. They get better at it, and them being better at it, I guess the different categories are blacksmithing, carpentry, extraction, metallurgy, sewing, farming, cooking, and alchemy. So there you go. And they do get better. When they get better, they unlock new recipes. So, for example, I wanted my lumberjack to go out and produce firewood. He probably can't do that because if we take a look at the saw bench over here, it says that in order to make this guy, you've got to be a level 2 carpenter. And so I don't know if carpentering is a thing that it is. So carpentry is actually like a separate job. So it's probably best for me to do it. In all fairness. So I can probably level up my carpentry faster than he can. These are all of the stats that level up through usage, just like you're playing a Bethesda game. There's also a missing skill tree over here. The survival mechanics of the game are not implemented yet. I've been at 0 nutrition the entire time. Nothing bad has happened. So the survival aspects of this game don't appear to actually be a factor or in the game just yet. I'm going to have this guy produce probably spruce logs for probably the next half hour. And then maybe like birch logs for a half an hour after that. You can queue things up, by the way. You can also manage any building. Good little bit of quality of life. You can manage any building from right here in the management tab, so you don't have to walk all the way over there. I just wanted to walk all the way over there so I could show you what the building looked like. But we should probably use our new financial security to get a few more workers. We're also going to need a new dig spot, I think. So, like, how hard is it going to be for us to get iron over here? So out of the furnace, we're going to need charcoal. That means we need a charcoal kiln before we're going to be able to go much further. A charcoal kiln is going to cost us 30 birch logs, 30 pine logs, 20 spruce boards. Okay. So the birch logs I'm going to go do myself. Now, the ultimate goal of this game, while I'm chopping this down, is that you're actually becoming like a criminal lord. So our plan with this village is not to extract levies or anything else, although we are going to do that. Later on in the game, it will activate and caravans will travel through the territory. We are actually becoming caravan robbers, and we're using the industry of this village that we're building in order to get like weapons, equipment for guys that are going to help me waylay caravans. I haven't gotten to that part of the game yet because it seems like it's kind of far in, and this game is kind of like a big resource grind to go like where you're trying to go. But that's why the game is called Robber Baron, is because at the end of the day, we're eventually going to be robbing caravans that are coming through our territory. And I'm assuming later on there's going to be like reputations and things like that that'll happen that'll bring you forward into conflict with other groups of people that are like, hey, stop raiding my caravans when they go through your territory, you turd. So after a little bit of farming, I think I should have the stuff on hand to make the charcoal kiln. So there we go. Charcoal kiln has been knocked out. If we wanted this to be period accurate, we need to put the charcoal burner like way out on the edge of town, because charcoal burners needed access to flowing water, as I recall, in order to do their job. And then on top of that, it stunk up town and nobody liked it. So charcoal burners were usually way out on the edge of town with the tanners and whatnot, because they were mad stinky, yo. And people don't like things that are mad stinky. We'll go ahead and put the charcoal burner over here because there's not too much else going on. And it looks like I can just use a bunch of logs over here to make the charcoal that we require in order to start, I guess, processing some iron and making some real money. And so the game does have these little production chains on in here. Like, you can see them. They are in the game as of right now. And what's shocking about this is when I sat down, you know, like when I go to cover a game like this, you expect the worst. I think most of the time we were like, all right, so how bad is this going to be? You know what I mean? But honestly, everything here works. I think the problems that I've run into thus far are mostly like managerial issues. That's, I think, the main concern that I've had while looking at the game is just that, like, so they started out a year ago. They're fully overhauling, like, everything, 6 months at a time. It appears to be the case that there's only one guy working on the game. The game costs $40, which is, once again, really, really unfortunate, because I just don't know how, as a guy that pitches games to people for a living, I don't know how you pitch a worse version of Medieval Dynasty to people for, like, more money. So for $5 less than this game, you can go buy Medieval Dynasty, which is done. Finished. It's feature complete. Like, everything is done with that game. The only thing that kind of sucks about Medieval Dynasty is the combat, but this game is kind of no spring chicken when it comes to contending with Medieval Dynasty's combat either. And so it leaves me in a really, really awkward situation where the game is full of, like, little asset-y things, you know, placeholders. It's very clear that this is, like, pre-early access, basically, from where it's sitting right now. From the roadmap that they've published, they have years in front of them before it gets to where it's gonna go. And yet, at the same time, the game is blessed with a developer that appears to be incredibly attentive and almost instantaneously responds to people's problems and issues and, like, things that are going wrong with their games. He's fixing bugs, like, very, very quickly. Like, he mashes that stuff out pretty rapidly the second that people report it. And he seems to be in for the long haul with the project. These are not things that I typically expect to see when I see a game that's making heavy use of assets and whatnot. Usually it's just like kind of pump and dump, get it on the store, make money, walk away, disband the company, form a new company, do it all over again. I don't think that that's the case here. But the game is packaged at $40, which I think is the really, really difficult sell on this one. So for something that is very early on in its development, and also just, like, inferior to another product on the market, like right now, there is a better product on the market that does everything this game does right this second, you know what I mean? For cheaper, for $5 less, becomes a very difficult recommendation. I think if the game was sitting at, like, $10, you know what I mean? Like $5-10, so that, like, yeah, dude, it's a jankier version of Medieval Dynasty, but with a developer that really seems personable and seems to care, then I'd be like, shrug, it's not that much money. It costs me like $30 to go to Jack in the Box and get a burger for me and my wife nowadays. So, like, $10 for a game that I actually did enjoy the last couple hours playing wouldn't be that bad of a deal. But at $40, it, as a consumer-facing guy, it's very difficult for me to be like, buy this game instead of Medieval Dynasty. I do like the hook that this game has going for it. That is to say, I really like the fact that this is a game about creating a village that becomes sort of like a criminal gang that lives in Sherwood Forest that raids and preys on the surrounding fiefdoms and stuff like that in order to make money, because there's no imperial authority keeping an eye out to make sure that the lords in this area are not being scumbags. Like, I really like that idea. But at the moment, it's a game that has a mostly empty map. Like, I've wandered around pretty much the entire lake. I've gone all the way to the right over there. I've wandered all the way throughout this area. I have seen nothing. There have been no buildings. There have been no points of interest. There have not really been anything that I've seen so far. That's not to say that that stuff doesn't exist out there. It looks like right here there's some kind of little camp. I didn't have a chance to check it. It looks like there's one over there as well. It looks like there's maybe one right here and like maybe one right here. But as far as I got was kind of like this area down around and like over to like here basically, and I haven't seen anything interesting in that area so far. So that leaves you with a game that's priced at $40 that is kind of like an earlier on alpha version of another game that already exists at a lower price. Then on top of that, it's a game with a mostly empty map that doesn't seem to have a whole lot going on in it, with placeholder combat that's due to be replaced next month in the combat patch that's coming on out, with mostly like asset buildings that need to be reworked so it's much more obvious what they are, with workers that get stuck against walls when he should be out in the woods kind of like doing hunting animations and stuff like that. This guy should be out in the woods just chopping on a tree or something. It doesn't need to fall down or anything, but he's producing wood, so he should be like out in the woods chopping down the nearest tree or whatever. Just like, you know, you would expect from any other game. And then you compound that with the fact that actually there's some good stuff going on here too. Like, it's not a bad little idle grinding production chain game yet that's very early on in its adventure, with a developer that seems extremely attentive and very excited about working on the game and seems to be working very hard on it. And so, like, this is a very, very confusing one for me to put on the channel, which is normally why I would just stay away till it's ready to go. But at a certain point, you play a game for a couple of hours, you've got your thoughts ready to go. There's no other resources about this game out there on the internet, really, that are up to date and, like, modern and ready to go. And so I figured I would throw my pitch at the wall and see if it stuck. For right now, I would say keep this game on your wish list. Watch it for a while, see if the roadmap follows through with all of its promises, and if some of this stuff starts to get a little bit better, and it starts to kind of like reduce that disparity between itself and Medieval Dynasty, which as of right now is kind of like the elephant in the room, that's just a better game for less money. If it gets there, I'd say, dude, I would love to run a criminal empire where I raid caravans and stuff along the side of the road and produce my own armor, which, by the way, that stuff is in the game. You can make backpacks, you can make boots, you can make gauntlets, you can make swords. I'm just not there yet on the tech tree after like 2 or 3 hours of playing the game. I've also been like exploring and wandering around to see if there's anything out there. Doing any kind of like preview of this game was always going to be a little bit of a challenge. But my name is Splattercat. I sift through the pile to find what is worthwhile in the world of indie games every single day so that you don't have to. Today up on the chopping block, we were fooling around with a title called Raubritter. This is a game where you're a feudal lord, building up a village, and then converting that village into villainy so that you can raid the surrounding fiefdoms for cash in order to make money to pay off the absolutely crippling debt that apparently your predecessor has racked up. I'll be back tomorrow with something hot and fresh off the indie skillet, but up until then, it's time for me to go. I appreciate you stopping by, and I will catch you all then. Bye, folks.